It's Friday, September 11th, and time for your Barbados City Morning News Update. The Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies wants a multi-billion-dollar fund established by countries that took advantage of the Caribbean for centuries. Professor Sir Hilary Beckles said the region was left in a state of underdevelopment, caused in no small part by the impact of colonialism, which has made tackling the issues of COVID-19, climate change, and non-communicable diseases even more difficult. Sir Hilary made the comments during the virtual 28th session of the Caribbean Development and Cooperation Committee of the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean yesterday.
And already we are developing the framework for an international development fund for the Caribbean. An international development fund into which all of those countries that have extracted wealth from this Caribbean for the last 300 to 400 years will be invited to participate in, if not lead, in the creation of an international development fund for the Caribbean on the basis of its relationship to the modern world in the last 300 years and having paid the dearest price for its induction into that international order. And it is only an international development fund in which we are speaking of at least $50 billion to return a portion of that wealth taken out of this Caribbean world through colonization, through slavery, through all of those methods of extraction of wealth, that the Western world can regain its moral balance and focusing upon this reparatory action.
The international financial system is broken, so declared Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who has called for the formation of a liquidity and resilience facility for small to medium-sized countries in the wake of the COVID-19 economic fallout. The Prime Minister, who was the keynote speaker at the 6th meeting of the Caribbean Development Roundtable of the United Nations Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean, said there needs to be systematic global solutions to a systematic global problem.
One crucial stepping stone I'd like to share with you is the idea of a liquidity and resilience facility developed by Vera Songwe of the Economic Commission for Africa. Vera's solution, and she's been working with us and we with her, addresses the illiquidity of the government bond markets of small and mid-sized countries. When investors buy our bonds, they do not expect that it will be a quick and easy effort for them to sell them. They have to be in it for the long haul and prepared to take all the risk with limited prospects of getting out when they want to, or even hedging some of the risk. Consequently, investors want to be compensated for this illiquidity, and they are. And the cost of borrowing from middle-income countries is markedly higher, even when they are fiscally responsible. We borrow, as you know, at 7 to 8% today, when larger rich countries with similar fundamentals borrow at 3%, 2% or less. This not only reduces our capacity to invest, but it also disincentivizes budgetary responsibility.
The Prime Minister said the facility could lower the cost of funding and infrastructure projects by up to 2 percentage points. She told the forum the time for action is now.
We could begin this facility today by establishing an independent agency with a credit line with multilateral development banks to borrow cash against a large pool of middle-income country bonds that finance resilience. And this, my friends, would provide an important stepping stone to our grander scheme of automatic global liquidity infusions when another independent agency declares that a systemic event has occurred. This facility and others like it could be the avenue for the liquidity infusion, targeting the liquidity to supporting resilience in countries that need it. And this, of course, is just but another idea, Alicia, to the one that you have placed on the table, for a Caribbean Resilience Fund that truly seeks to allow us to be able to finance our own not only dependent on finance from outside, but making the instruments attractive enough for our own people for whom there are limited returns on investment for their savings today. We believe that these options will secure an even better outcome than the quantitative easing achieved in the past. My friends, the international financial system is broken. We're not complaining and we're not begging. We must not go down that route, as it will lay us open to division, temporary relief, but trust me, no progress.
A businessman and former airline worker is proposing that Barbados moves quickly to establish a low-cost airline through a private-public sector partnership if the country is serious about growing and diversifying its tourism product and attracting more visitors. The founder of the distribution firm Sunshine Imports Inc. told Barbados Today that he has come up with a viable plan that could see Barbados partnering with Antigua and Barbuda to build an expansive air connection between the Caribbean and the rest of the world.
We have a wonderful position. Remember, Africa is in front of us.
Right.
And Africa is developing a lot. So there are now many links between Africa and North America, and even South America. And Africa now, in the moment, is not linked yet with Central America and the Caribbean. What I believe, especially countries like South Africa, Ghana, and maybe Kenya or Ethiopia. Ethiopia, for example, has the best airline in Africa. Ethiopian Airlines is flying all over. And I think we could maybe talk with them too. So if, for example, we create an airline that we have only some big plane flying from our airport, Barbados and Antigua, because we need also, I think, Antigua. Why? Because there are some destinations more in the north we can serve only from Antigua, and then with a regional plane link it with Antigua. And all the destinations southern we can link with Barbados.
Barbados' former High Commissioner to Canada is satisfied with the strides made during his stint, noting that Barbados and CARICOM's relationship with the northern nation was strengthened significantly. Senator Reginald Farley made the comment yesterday after being sworn in as a government senator by Governor General Dame Sandra Mason.
So to have been asked by the Prime Minister to be our High Commissioner, which is the ambassadorial level within the Commonwealth countries, was a great honor for me. It was an easy transition. In terms of achievements, I'm pleased to say that the relationship between Barbados and Canada, and indeed CARICOM and Canada, has been strengthened. I work with the other 6 CARICOM High Commissioners resident in Ottawa to strengthen the relationship. We worked hard in the last 2 years to get us to the point where in February this year, we were due to have a visit from Prime Minister Trudeau. That was not possible because of domestic difficulties. There was problems with indigenous people in Canada, and they were blocking the railways. Supply chains were going awry. But we had a visit from the Foreign Minister, and it was agreed that we would not just have these high-level prime ministerial meetings, but working meetings.
Senator Farley will be elected President of the Senate at the next sitting, following the departure of Sir Richard Cheltenham, who retired on August 5th.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To news from our regional neighbors now, discussions are underway in Antigua and Barbuda that could see commercial banks extending the moratorium on loans and mortgages for clients by a further 6 months due to the fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. More in this report from ABS News.
They had expressed a desire to take the remaining week and then some that remains on the current moratorium to fine-tune the modalities for the further extension of the moratorium.
When Antigua and Barbuda first went into lockdown back in March, an agreement was arrived at with commercial banks for moratorium on mortgage debt repayments. The moratoria, which were applied on a case-by-case basis and originally set to last for a 6-month period, would have come to an end this month.
Given that persons are out of a job at the moment, rather than going to foreclosure, this is a better option to allow them some space to recover, as it were. And I think that they're looking at another period of 6 months. So this will take us into the new year. During this time, the requirement for repayment will be deferred until the expiration of the moratorium. Meanwhile, the government will be providing up to $50 million for the establishment of partial credit guarantees. If a business should fall into default, then the obligation will be to the government to be able to meet that expectation. So the banks are going to be assured that they're not going to be left holding the bag, as it were.
And finally, on the international scene, thousands of migrants remained stranded on streets for a third day near Greece's largest migrant camp after fires burned the facility to the ground. More in this report from the CNN.
By Thursday night, fires were still being lit and put out. But on the outskirts of Moria, the only emergency that now matters is the humanitarian one. Thousands of refugees still surrounded in by police, but now without any refuge at all.
It is miles and miles of human misery stretched out along these roads around what was the Moria migrant camp. Have a look over here. You can see families doing what they can to try and find shelter and keep themselves warm because the evenings get quite cool here, even though the days are pretty hot. You can see that people here, these women, were told to queue because food would be brought. A truck then arrived and everyone rushed down to try and get at something.
For many, this was the first sign of help they've had since the fire on Tuesday night deprived them of what little they owned. As they fled, many took videos as their shelters went up in smoke. These images were shot by 2 teenage sisters. Mariam and Matab, who with their family are now living among the dead.
We lost everything, like clothes and medicine, my medicines, mother.
Like the others here, they tell us that they do not believe that the migrants were responsible for the fire, even as Greek authorities say it was lit by migrants angry with the COVID-19 related restrictions.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.